Now, Kayleigh McEnany, outnumbered co-host on Fox News and former White House press secretary. Kayleigh, great to see you. You watch that exchange there. It's so heated, and Dr. Fauci sort of defending his reputation. He doesn't want to be called a liar, but the truth is, once that money is turned over for research, even if you said it wasn't for gain-of-function research, you really don't know what happens to it.
Exactly right. Money is fungible. And we know between 2014 and 2019, 3.4 million went to the Wuhan Institute of Virology, and it went to that WIV Institute via EcoHealth Alliance. Dr. Fauci says, hey, that money was intended to do samples and specimens, not gain of function. But even Dr. Fauci, when pressed, are you sure it didn't go to gain of function? Can you guarantee us where the money went when it got to Wuhan? Was able to say, you know, I can't for sure say what money went to what. Once it's out of the NIH's hands, you can't ensure that it doesn't, in fact, go to gain of function.
Why can't he just own it? Why can't he say he's sorry and say, you know, we weren't really sure where it was going? Yes, we did provide this funding. I know once it changes hands, you know, sort of anything is up in the air. I mean, I know it makes him look bad, but to a certain extent, this does too.
It does. It's a lose-lose for Dr. Fauci. I mean, think if he was to apologize or give any sort of, you know, admission that perhaps it funded gain-of-function research, he would be responsible, at least part of U.S. tax dollars would be responsible in part for a COVID-19 pandemic that ravaged the globe. Also, though, you should note that Dr. Fauci, some other facts in his past, in 2012, he wrote an academic journal article defending gain-of-function, even at the risk of a possible pandemic. We know this. And there are several other facts that show he supported gain of function. And when 200 other scientists said, hey, we should never engage of this, Dr. Fauci's NIH actually reversed a moratorium on gain of function research in 2019. The facts don't look good for Dr. Fauci.
All right, I want to switch gears here for a moment. As former press secretary, I think you'll get a kick out of this. The White House current press secretary, Jen Psaki, under fire for giving Texas Democrats a free pass after exposing D.C. lawmakers to COVID-19.
Is there any concern that this trip that was intended to advocate for voting rights is now a super spreader event in Washington?
Well, I would say that's not a characterization we're making from here. We certainly understand there will be breakthrough cases. Even vaccines that are incredibly effective are not foolproof.
I mean, Kayleigh, what's she supposed to say? But I will say this. If it was your administration, they would be screaming bloody murder, that this was super spreader activity. The hypocrisy here is amazing.
Absolutely. The Amy Coney Barrett confirmation ceremony, or rather the nomination of Amy Coney Barrett, I guarantee you, if you did the math, a smaller percentage got COVID from that ceremony than this trip. It's 10% of these lawmakers that got COVID, and they stopped reporting the numbers, so it could be higher. Meanwhile, you flash back, and it was, I can guarantee you, fewer than 10%. There were more than 100 people at that ceremony in the Rose Garden, but nevertheless, the media called it a cesspool, a super spreader event, circled the pictures of people like me and some of my younger staffers as people who contracted COVID, alleging it all happened at that event. It is a total and complete double standard and hypocrisy.
Yeah, and we're going to be talking about the border, for example, a little bit later. But when it comes to COVID, for example, you have people crossing the border illegally, bringing COVID into this country. The Democrats aren't saying anything about that. But now we're talking with this Delta variant that we may have to mask up again. Here, I went on an international trip. Kayleigh, I had to get tested for COVID before I came back.
Yeah, of course you did. Exactly. And then meanwhile, on our southern border, as you note, our Border Patrol agents putting themselves at great risk, as we know there's a 900% increase in the number of illegal immigrants that have COVID as they cross our southern border. The notion of mask mandates is absolutely ridiculous. At a certain point, we have to live with COVID-19. Vaccines are readily available. If you get one, you're protected, you're safe, you'll have mild COVID. So mask mandates, this is about personal freedom at this point. People should do what's responsible for them. For me, that meant getting a COVID-19 vaccine.
Absolutely. We make our own choices in this country. That's what the foundation is. While I have you here, I also want to talk to you about the economy a little bit, because we talk every night about how we see prices going up. We're talking about an infrastructure bill that, you know, they basically want a blank check. They don't want to put the details in place just yet. While American families are suffering, I think right now people are paying for things because they've been pent up and they want to be out and about. But at a certain point, they're going to say, I can't afford this dinner. I can't afford this vacation. I can't afford to fill up the car at the gas pump.
That's right. And the White House tells us there's no long-term inflation on the horizon. I'm not sure how they can guarantee that. You know, we're seeing inflation numbers like we haven't seen in the last decade. And on top of that, you mentioned the quote, infrastructure plan, which includes just about everything, including amnesties, one of the proposals. How can you guarantee no long-term inflation when you're about to pass a $3.4 trillion bill that is going to only add to the pain Americans are seeing? I don't think anyone can make that guarantee, but this may be Joe Biden's, mark my words, no new taxes moment where it really comes back to bite him and hurts him come 2024.
I think you're absolutely right. Kayleigh McEnany, great to see you as always. Thank you.
Good to see you.